Welcome, everyone. Today, I would like to introduce you to the members of Red Hat, the DEI Strategic Recruiting Partner Team, who work closely with various stakeholders to prioritize diverse hires in different business units. They'll discuss the Red Hat recruitment process and tips on how to improve your resume and career at Red Hat. So, right, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining. I'm Isaac. I'm a DEI strategic recruiting partner, and I'm joined by Justin and Kim, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hey, everyone. I'm Justin. I'm also a DEI strategic recruiting partner here at Red Hat. I've been at Red Hat for a little bit over a year now, and I help support our corporate functions and early talent.
Hi everyone, I'm Kimberly and I'm new to the team. I help out with early talent, which include the consulting launch program, their co-op, and also the internship program.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm focusing on sales engineering and a little bit of corporate and early talent functions as well. But thank you. Yeah, Justin, if you want to take us to the next slide, and we'll go over what we're going to discuss a little bit more. Yeah, so definitely going to provide a background about Red Hat for those of you who don't know about Red Hat, the open source way. We're going to, like Alex said, go over some general rules for resume writing, how you can make your experience work for you, as well as the Red Hat's candidate hiring process and what you can expect there, and leaving a bit of room for any questions and answers that you might have for us. If you can go to the next slide, Justin. Thank you. Yeah, so the open source way. So for those of you who don't know, Red Hat is the leader in open source software and technology. What that means for people like me who's not very technical, when you have access to source code, you can see exactly how the software works. You can modify it, you can share it, you can build on it, take it away, and adapt it to your own needs. And so to put it into perspective, if you think like a cookie recipe, you can either keep it to yourself or share it out with the world, and people can add to it. They can take stuff away, adapt to their own needs if they're lactose intolerant, if they're gluten-free, etc. So what we've done is we've taken that kind of open source methodology and applied it to our core principles as a company, as well as to our culture. And so you can see to the side, transparency, when information and materials are accessible. Collaboration, we're big on collaboration. We want people to participate, to modify, to show up and have a voice at the table. Release early and often, an iterative approach that leads to better solutions and faster. Inclusive meritocracy, just striving to have a more inclusive and open environment, and community, our shared value to supersede individual interests and agendas. And just a few more details, kind of how we apply that open source technology into our work-life balance. We want people to, have a healthy, balanced working environment when they show up to work. People have different responsibilities in their life. They have relatives that they're taking care of. They have just other different responsibilities. And so just having a clear communication with your manager and your team to establish what works best for you to still be productive at work, but also to, have a good mental and work-life balance. Professional development, your managers are striving to establish a performance and development plan for you, where you want to go, where do you see your path, any stretch assignments, any other teams that you can shadow, and just playing to your strengths, as well as community. We're big on community, diversity, equity, inclusion communities. We have a little over 10, I believe, and I'm wearing one of the shirts, our Red Hat Asian Network shirts, and other different social communities that you can 100% get involved. So Ellen, just a little background about Red Hat, and then I think I'm going to pass it over to Justin, who's going to talk about those general rules of resume writing. You're on mute, Justin.
I can't hear Justin.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Trying to make sure, go back. There we go. Sorry about that. So I'll go over a few resume tips for everyone. So the first do is show yourself as a dynamic person. Do you work? Do you volunteer? Are you part of or other organizations? This just shows like hiring managers and recruiters that you can balance different things and have solid time management skills. Another thing is make your experiences sound impressive and responsible. Um, so we talked about all the things you want to add to your resume, but make sure that those things show that you take responsibility and show leadership in those roles. Another thing is to highlight your most relevant skills and experience. As recruiters, we may look at up to like 100 resumes a day. So any way that you can make those relevant skills stand out will make our job a whole lot easier. And then the last part is include information about the successes you've achieved.
Justin, sorry, I think you're on the wrong, or you're on the don'ts slide.
Am I?
Yeah, I think we're on the do's.
It's showing do's on mine. I apologize.
You're fine.
Oh. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. And the last part was just include information about your successes that you've achieved. Don't sell yourself short. Consider different projects that you've worked on, and really highlight the positive work that you've contributed wherever you are. On to the don'ts. I know that was what you were all looking at before. So here are some of the things that sort of turn us off as recruiters. The first part is don't lie. Anything you put on your resume is fair game for a recruiter or hiring manager to ask you about and verify. Another thing is don't copy and paste directly from a previous job description. I know it can be tempting, but it's really important that you write from your own personal experience. Another thing is don't plagiarize or use someone else's resume as your own. You'd be surprised how often we actually see this. It's just a huge red flag for any recruiter. Another thing is don't downplay your experience, sort of like we talked about before, really focus and highlight your successes. Even if it seems small, make sure you show your work as, like we were saying before, as responsible and the leadership that you've taken in that role. And then another part is don't add personal information such as like age, sex, or date of birth to your resume. And then finally, we'll talk about a little bit about impact statements. So impact statements are meant to elevate your experience and show the reader why something you did was important. So using adjectives that describe how you did something, using clear language and describing the task and your responsibility in it, using numbers, dollar amounts, percentages to quantify your success and your work, and using phrases like resulting in, to ensure, to provide, in order to really round out that why. I think I'll pass it over to Kim now.
So let's take a common workplace experience and see how you can turn them into impact statements that Justin mentioned. For example, worked as a cashier. So that is really straight to the point, but it does not convey, the job that you're doing. So things that you can improve on and put in your resume, for example, maintain high standards of customer service during high volume, fast-paced operations. So this gives you, it calls out an idea of the type of work you're doing, shows that you're handling priorities, you're flexible and can work in a fast work environment. Another example that I put here is handle monetary transaction up to $1,000 daily. Just shows that how much you're working on day-to-day basis. And third example that I listed here, usually in cashier roles, you are also in a position to promote sales. And an example that I use is promoted restaurant menu in person and over the phone, which result in 10% sales increase within a month. So having that metric there just shows that you are creating impact at work. You're able to drive sales. You helped out promoting in person and on the phone. So it allows the recruiter who's reading it that you contribute meaningful work at your role. You can go to the next slide, please. Okay. Sorry, Justin, did I skip to the next one? Yes, there you go, tips and tricks. So here are some formatting tips that you can use. For the most part, you have less than 30 seconds to capture your recruiter's attention. So it's really important to format it right. If you're a student, we highly recommend that you keep it down to 1 page. And you also should clearly label different sections, whether it's like education, experience, extracurricular activities. And I know that many of you here are in the tech industry. We also recommend putting your skills at the very top. As recruiters, it makes it easier to see if you qualify for a position, or we can recommend you to other jobs as well. You should also make good use of space on the paper. Avoid large sections of white space. You can adjust different fonts, different heading. You can style the way you want, just to make sure that your format is looking right. And what we recommend is to have it 1 inch by 1 inch margins all over. But if you do have more experience, you can extend that by doing 0.5 for the top and bottom, 0.75 for left and right. So some flair is okay for your resume. That also includes like the different style of the headings that I mentioned or fonts that you're using. You can add a little color, just not too much. And we strongly do not recommend putting your photo on your resume. That is great for LinkedIn, but not on paper. Once you save your resume, save it as a PDF. So that will freeze a document and it will be the same in everybody's computer. Well, in the past, we had candidates send resumes through Word docs, and sometimes the format is off. And I know as a job seeker, you want to have your resume speak for yourself. Once you save your resume, also rename it as your name dash resume. A lot of candidates will send us like generic resume where it says my resume or resume 1, 2, 3, and then it's a little harder as a recruiter because we have so many resume in our download folder. So it does take some time for us to find as well. Making it easier to find will allow us more time to share your resume to other people in the talent team. If you can please go to the next slide, please. So here are some resume templates that you can use. Microsoft Office has their own, but feel free to check out the links on here as well. I also attach resume action verbs that you can use to improve your resume even further. Can you go next slide? So now I'm going to turn on to Isaac. He's going to tell you more about Red Hat's internal practices. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, so you've applied, and what's next? What are you expecting? So once you apply, your resume will be attached to your profile and your application within our applicant tracking system, iCIMS, for review. To kind of echo what Kim was going over, you have less than 30 seconds to really capture our attention. We are looking for keywords. We are looking for those metrics and that data, like what is the impact to some of the things that you've done. In addition to that, we're kind of manually reviewing your resume. We don't have an automatic system that kicks your resume out of process. And so we are really looking, through your resume when you apply. And so you'll be put in our applicant tracking system so we can just see where you are, resume under review, if we're going to send you over to the manager for their review. And so with that, we're moving to the next step. After your initial resume review, a recruiter will reach out to you to just chat a little bit more about your experience, your background, and the role. They'll ask a few more questions, and you'll have the opportunity to ask some questions about the culture, about opportunity for development, opportunity for growth, ask about the team structure, the hiring manager. And we'll also go into current location. We'll go into a different some logistical questions as well. So after that, we'll pass you over to the hiring manager for further review. They'll want to set up a screen to chat, to go again just a little bit deeper, to ask you more specific questions. With a recruiter, we're probably not going to know too much of the technical background, as obviously you all know, but the hiring manager will. And so they'll be asking a few more specifics. You'll also have the opportunity for a potential technical screen. I don't know if people have heard of hacker ranks or whiteboarding sessions, but just to see where you are, see, are you able, do you know what Java is and Python and all these different things? What do they do? And what's been your experience with it? Some projects that you would want to speak to as well is big on this. A lot of hiring managers love to hear about personal projects that you're, even for just passion, just for fun. Like I'm learning new things, and I'm kind of doing a passion project, something that's important to me, as well as kind of expanding my skill set. So after that, you'll go for panel interviews. They can involve a manager. Sometimes it's just key stakeholders. It varies, to be honest. It could be 3 people and that's kind of it. It could be up to 6 people, but it's not that, 6-on-1 where you're sitting in a room and just a bunch of people asking you questions, like super stressful. It's one-on-one where you get that one-on-one time to ask some specific questions to that panel member, and more conversational. They just want to, again, just hear a little bit more about you, how you're going to best collaborate. And so very, very smooth process, to be honest. But those are what you would expect within our hiring process. And I think that's it. I think we can go to the next slide and open it up for questions if anybody has them. And feel free to put it in the chat if you don't want to say anything.
I have a question. What kind of tech stack are you guys hiring for?
Tech stack? Could you elaborate?
Yeah, so like what languages are you guys looking for? Like, is it React.js or Node or Python?
Yeah, so it definitely depends on the role. So if it's going to be more front end, more full stack, or more back end, but definitely Python, Java. I've seen React, I've seen Node be kind of the more generic, like the languages that they are, the programming languages that most hiring managers are looking for. But once you get into more specifics like platforms or Ansible, Kubernetes, some of that kind of higher level stuff, that'll be more specific. But for the most part, that's what they're looking for is, yeah, those Python, Java. I've heard of Puppet, Chef. Some of those are some, I guess, some software or codes that we're starting to use a little bit more, like they would like to see. But did that answer your question? Awesome.
Yes, it did.
Awesome. I saw another one from Sheila. So 2 parts to that question. We are, for the most part, all remote. And sorry if I'm speaking over Kim, Justin, please feel free to jump in as well. But for the most part, yeah, we're hiring remote, mostly just kind of across the United States. You do have the opportunity if you want to go into the office. I went in the office yesterday. I don't have to, but sometimes I just want to get out of the same 4 walls. And so you'll, depending on the city that you're in, if we have an office, you're more than willing to go in if you want, or just stay fully remote if that's what you want as well. Kim, Justin, did you have anything to add?
No, I think that definitely covered it. I will say sometimes it does depend on the role too, and sort of what department you're in. I see a question about our ATS software. So we actually, each resume that's submitted, we all, you can trust that a recruiter's eyes will be on it. So we don't have any software that's eliminating candidates from the process or anything like that. Everything is manually done. We're in the system looking at resumes.
Justin, Isaac, I just want to add in this. So for resumes in general, it's really good to have strong action verbs, which I attached it in one of the slides, just to make your statements more effective. So I strongly recommend using that. Like, we were working in HR. Are you like recruiting? Are you working with high volume? Are you supporting like calls? It depends on the work you're doing. Make sure you put like any metrics around there as well. I think that will also help increase even I would say reviews even on LinkedIn. So like just having like those keywords or like those action verbs in there will help significantly.
And to add on to that too, making sure to tailor your resume for the job that you're applying for. So seeing those keywords within a job description and adding those to your resume as well.
I was gonna try to step in to help answer Larry's question for software jobs for as a recruiter, how to use. Yeah, so for our applicant tracking system, it's a way for us to see where candidates are in the process, and so it's more just on our end. When somebody applies, their resume stands out. We want to how to tell my resume. Oh yeah, so I mean, going from the tips that we described within this slide, that will be how your resume is standing out. And so when we are going in to look through your resume to check out Larry, your experience, what you're currently working on, your side projects, what you're interested in, the skills that you have, that's how we're kind of tracking to pass you off, potentially to the hiring manager, and then moving forward throughout that process. So the ATS is more just for our end, just to see where you are, but obviously you're staying up to date where you are in the process as well. When you apply, you kind of have a dashboard that shows where you are in the process within the hiring process, meeting to the hiring manager, a business screen, a technical screen. So it'll show on your end as well. And you'll obviously be kept in the loop where, you're moving forward in the next steps. But the kind of ATS is more so on our end. So telling your resume, just, we definitely encourage you to take some of those tips and tricks that we provided. Does anyone want to take, I think, Jay's question, and then Rachel had a question as well. If anybody wants to take them.
I can answer Jay's question. I'll say the big skill, like non-programming skills, is collaboration. So if you can really talk to experiences where you've worked with others or cross-functionally maybe as well, I know that's a huge skill set that we're always looking for.
I will say, so to answer Rachel's question about cover letters, it's tough. It's nice to have, but it's kind of tricky. I don't know, Justin or Kim, do you have, do you have anything to add?
It is tricky. I've seen hiring managers ask for it, and then I've seen hiring managers not look at it at all. So I think it depends. I think it definitely couldn't hurt your chances, I would say.
I'd like to add on this. So like for the last 5 years, like even as a job seeker, I've majority of times I have not submitted a cover letter. I do have a general cover letter that I do save somewhere on my Google Drive, and I do tailor to the resume. I mean, sorry, the jobs, depending on which one I'm applying to. If the job asks for it, if they make a requirement, then I'll submit it. In the past, I applied to a lot of larger corporations, which is high volume. I will admit a lot of them do not ask for cover letters, and they do not have enough time to review all of them. They pretty much just screen my resume and move me to the process. So that is only I can speak on behalf of it. With that said, I still recommend having a general template somewhere just so you can go back, edit, tailor if you need to, just so you have it ready.
Good
Thank
call out, Kim.
Thanks for answering the question.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Next is Amy's question about objectives.
I think we can all speak to this. I do. I look at an objective. I look at, what you're interested in. It's probably an opportunity to speak a little more to those soft skills like collaboration that Justin mentioned. You want to work in a collaborative environment, potential for growth of opportunities. So definitely doesn't hurt. I have an objective. It's just a few sentences, but I don't know, Justin and Kim, do you have anything else?
I agree. I think it's another way for us to sort of zero in if you're a good fit for the role. Because I think a lot of hiring managers like to see like, oh, you're running towards something and not running away from something. So if your objective is to get the job, I think it's definitely a positive thing to add on to your resume.
Are we hiring for entry-level positions? Yes. And I'll let Justin and Kim take over that all across the organizations, but yes.
Yeah, we definitely are. And there's definitely some different programs that support like our early talent functions. So like Kim mentioned earlier, our consulting launch program for entry level and new career consultants is a guided program that helps develop not only like your consulting skills, but also like those soft skills of like giving a presentation, working with clients, communicating with clients, so things like that. Another opportunity is our internship program. And that's typically for students, but also new grads sometimes are interested as well. We also have the junior essay program, which is similar to our consultant launch program. It's just a junior for entry level or new early career solution architects as well.
Yeah. And to those, to kind of echo off what Justin was saying, those are definitely very technical, but also people driven. And so going back to some of those examples that Kim gave about a cashier or working in customer service, that's what they would want to see, like some type of customer interaction where, you know, you've created an impact and you are a people person, but you also can speak to the technology that's requiring. So for Vinicius, and I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, great question. I will say yes, if you have used them as a learning tool, if you know what they are, maybe you haven't had such like kind of hands-on experience working with it, I still say, you know, even I guess beginner or intermediate level knowledge of knowing about that, because there are a lot of people who don't know about, you know, Docker and Kubernetes. And so I think having that on your resume saying, yes, I know how to use, well, I know what it does. I probably haven't had too much hands-on experience with it, but you know, the foundational knowledge, that's still a lot more than most people. So I would say to put it there, make it clear, you know, it's just kind of a more knowledgeable, not so experienced just yet, but you could also speak to what you're doing to get that hands-on experience. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But if anybody else had anything to add with that.
No, I agree. I think that's my recommendation as well. And I think, can we talk a little bit more about what Red Hat does? I think Larry answered that in the chat as well. But sort of how we make our money is more on that customer side. So providing service, consulting, and support for our clients for our products is sort of how we make our money. Are there any more questions?
Okay. Well, yeah, if no other questions, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us on a Friday, wherever you are on the West Coast, East Coast. But yeah, thank you for your time, letting us chat with you a little bit more about Red Hat. Excited to connect with you hopefully soon. I don't know, Alex or Kim, Justin, did you have anything that you wanted to add as well?
I just really appreciate everyone's time. You know, looking forward to working with some of you moving forward.
Yes, I also wanted to echo Isaac and Justin. Thank you again for taking your time to meet with all of us. Maybe we'll work with you guys in the future.
I have one more question. I know you were talking about all the different types of programs with like internships and stuff. Can you send us like links or information about it, or send it to Alex to let us know? I don't know if they're seasonal or when they come up or things of that nature, or the best way to get in contact with you around those specific things.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn as well. We have all of our roles are on our I'm sorry, Red Hat job site. It's so you can see what we have open, but also if you do want to speak to one of us about what's upcoming, some of those seasonal like cycle programs and what to expect, when to look out for it, 100%. We're definitely able to connect and talk to you about that. So I am not sure, Alex, do we have some of our roles posted on the job board for Code the Dream, or?
Not very sure. I'll double check on that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll reach out to you if we need any information, if that's okay.
Yeah. And I can drop my LinkedIn link in the chat. And Rachel, if you wanted to talk a little bit more specifics, you can connect with one of us if that's okay. So I can answer Larry's question real quick. I'm sorry, I don't want to run out of time, but if you haven't heard back, there's a potential we may just be a little too far in the hiring process, unfortunately. Some of our roles can be open for months, and we might just have a few in like those final interview stages. We can get connected with you, just probably keep you updated, probably where that role is, but that's probably why you might not have heard back, unfortunately. We do try to touch base with everyone. We do have a very high volume of applicants for a lot of our roles, and it's just unfortunate sometimes we might not be able to get to everyone, but that's probably why you haven't heard back. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Great. All right. Well, Alex, was there anything else or any next steps?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we still have more time if you guys want to answer a few more questions. It's up to you guys. We normally set the time up to an hour, so you're welcome to stay, or but we really appreciate you guys coming and talking to us today.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to us if you do have any other questions that come up. And yeah, we'll get connected with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.